it's Laurie again, Laurie and Sam, and we're here at Movida in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. Sam and I have a sewing and design studio. I'm actually the founder.
It's not mine.
Sam is my number one instructor.
I'm just here to push things along.
Yeah, keep me in line. And we're working on a podcast. We wanted to come out and talk about all the things that we do here at the studio, but really in relation to why we sew, how we teach, why we teach, and how we feel about the fashion industry and the clothing industry and sort of like all the stuff that's going on. Also, we're both a little neurospicy. I have some neurospicy kids. We have some interesting students, so we wanted to talk a little bit about that and our experience with that. I'm a serial business owner, although we've had Movida for now just about 14 years. And being a female entrepreneur, some stuff maybe that might be interesting about that. So I guess that's about it. We're going to get started, and Sam's going to give me the question of the day.
Before we do the question, I want you to talk a little bit about your outfit.
Okay, so Sam has asked me to describe my outfit in case you're only listening. And once again, I dress for whatever they call it now, dopamine or whatever. I love to get dressed. I have a huge closet. I have a scary amount of shoes. Love the shoes. And it comes from all over the place. I sew some of it. I thrift some of it. I've inherited some. And I also keep my stuff forever. So it goes in rounds. I box some of it up for a while. I bring it back out. So I'm not really a shopaholic at all. Although I love to go and look at all the current fashions. So today I am wearing, I have to stand up for this in case you're looking. I'm wearing a lovely pink tulle skirt that I made at Movida. And so if you want to come in and make a skirt, this one's really, really simple. It comes with a little silk petticoat, and we made it out of silk because we have lots of, upcycled or thrifted silk fabric. Dead stock silk fabric, so silk in that. I got boots from Winners that are at least 10 years old, and I have a red cashmere sweater on that I inherited from my mom, and I got a Zara jacket on, and I have a Christmas ornament necklace.
Yeah.
A lovely classic Christmas ornament necklace. Oh, and some earrings that I bought in Tofino from this lovely girl that are like pink flowers. And I have, if you haven't seen me, I have a little bit of pink hair, and my glasses today are bougie fancy, though I don't remember the name of the company, but they're bougie. Sabine. Anyways, they're pink and red. Yeah. So I'm all dialed out pink and red today.
You got
a little
the
festive.
Colors. Yeah, a little festive. Your blazer is definitely a staple of your wardrobe. This one's a classic. I love it. It's very nice on you.
Thank you. And it just happened to match the skirt perfectly by accident, so.
Well, your wardrobe tends to go a little together. I find the same.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, do I have to stand up
Yep,
for this?
you have to give them a little spin at least and tell them.
My little spin. So this is what Laurie calls my David Bowie jacket.
Yes.
We're starting with this one. I thrifted this, and it's just like absolutely ragged. It's chiffon or something like that, and they cut it so that it kind of looks like feathers, similar to your other pink jacket that you wore. So I liken it to being a crow. Look, I have some, I'm collecting fluff on me.
Fluff.
So this one's thrifted. I've had this for a few years. And then my top and my skirt is also thrifted. So my skirt is orange with tiger stripes and cheetah print. And it's just, I don't know, some sort of synthetic fiber. And then my top is like a faux corset-y little tank top with some ruffles on it. I'm wearing my Demonia, I think these are shakers. These ones I really saved up for a couple years ago. They were like $200. No big deal. But I wear them all the time. They're like one of my favorite shoes.
Yeah.
And they're all dinged up. I gotta get them resold and clean them. And my laces are from Umomo, which is a Japanese dollar store. That it's literally just lace that I laced through because I thought it was cool. And I'm wearing all my jewelry, and I got blue hair.
I saw this TikTok yesterday, and the lady makes shoelaces, like out of cotton fabric.
So she sews it all together?
She does long strips, and she folds them over so they're just as wide, and so they're in all quilters cottons and stuff, and she sells them, and she puts crimpy things on the end, whatever those things are called.
Aglets.
She got a little aglitter machine and she melts them on and then she sells. Like
you can get the metal ones too. They probably have them over at
printed
Lonsdale.
Yeah.
Leather.
But I'm like, that's a commitment to straight stitching.
It's a commitment, but that should be a starter project for the kids. Wouldn't they just love... It's so easy, but that's the point of the starter project, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a long strip and tube, and does she double
Yeah,
fold?
the only thing that I was thinking that could be cool, too, is that if you didn't fold the end bit, so that when you tied the bow, it was like a little poofier.
Yeah.
So that you could get a little bit more showing, because hers are just all straight and skinny.
Yeah.
Right? So I thought, well, if you stopped sewing at the end so that it undid a little bit, you know?
Like frayed?
Frayed or opened up. Because
Yeah.
you're going to fold it over like 3 times, right? So if it opened up.
So then it's got more of a triangle-y shape.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool.
I think that's a good idea. I think we might have to make some laces.
Try and make some laces and see.
Some
But
laces.
it's like...
The kids would like that too. You do it out of quilter's cotton.
Yeah. But you got to go straight and you got to cut straight.
Ah, it's all going to be fed through a hole as long as it fits through your little
The whole
eyelet.
Yeah.
But you can really shove them in there. We got some crochet hooks. We could help the kids pull them through their laces.
So you got to get the iglets.
Yeah. This one, I put the tape around it. What is that? Scotch tape.
Yeah. Well, I was
did,
thinking
like,
about that,
3
but the Scotch tape then is charred if you're trying to force it through the hole in your shoe.
Yeah.
Then the Scotch tape is a little bit tricky. But
I fed it all through and then Scotch tape.
Because I saw iglets that you could just use a little heat gun on, right? Like you don't have to get the things. They're plastic and you just put them over a little heat and they shrink up like shrink wrap. Now you got more ideas going, don't you?
I know. I'm very interested.
Yeah.
I like a good shoelace.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe in the spring. Okay. My question is, again, one that we talk a lot about here. And the context for this being that both me and you have ADHD. I think we were diagnosed around the same time. When I started
40
here,
years different in time.
Yeah.
But at the same year
in
time.
the same year, like 2020 or something like that.
Yeah.
So both of us went through school, and a little bit of life for me, but like you went till you had La Movida, not knowing that you had ADHD, and so we look often retroactively on our experiences before we knew, and on our experiences now that we know and kind of got it a little more under control and we're working with it. And a lot of that gets translated into how we teach the kids, because the main business here, if you're unfamiliar, is that we teach kids how to sew. Yeah. And often that results, and I find that often that results in a lot of kids who are neurospicy, as they say, because we're all... birds of a feather. We're all attracted to the dopamine dressing and the very stimulating crafts and that sort of thing. So I'm curious to both hear about your experience navigating the ADHD, but the other thing is that you're a mom, so you've navigated that, and you're a teacher, so you've navigated that. So how do you feel having ADHD and working with neurodivergent kids in sewing? How does sewing, how does teaching sewing and ADHD go in hand? It's a broad question.
It's
but we talk about it a lot.
We do. We talk about it a lot. Well, because when I got, like lots of mothers, I got diagnosed with both my dyslexia and my ADHD when my girls got diagnosed. So I have 2 girls and they're in their early 20s now, and they got diagnosed with their dyslexia when they were like 7 or 8 or something, each one a couple years after the other, because one's a little bit younger. And it was at that time that I learned that I was dyslexic. At the time, and I don't know why, and it still makes me really mad, I go on for hours about it, they did not, even though both girls had full-on psych ed evaluations at $3,000 a pop over 7 days and 40 hours, neither one of them were diagnosed with ADHD at the time. And it's really makes me angry and interested, I guess, simultaneously as to why not, right? Because they're being psych evaluated. And I went back later because the stupid system insists that you keep having these stupid psych ed evaluations. So my older daughter did another one before high school, and then another one before university, which is really ridiculous because they're very expensive. But also, once you get diagnosed with dyslexia, it doesn't go away. And once you get diagnosed with ADHD, it doesn't go away. So I don't know why you have to go and keep getting tested for something that is like in your brain. Like you don't get better. You're not cured.
Double check.
Gotta double check, I guess.
I have a friend who is autistic, and I am also autistic. So this friend had gone through what your kids went through, where they had a psych eval when they were like 8 or 9 or something like that, and then had another one in high school. Neither time did they come back and be like, you're on the spectrum. And then it wasn't until I was just like, hey, so you're autistic, right? That they then, as an adult, went back one more time and had another psych evaluation to find out that they're actually autistic. So sometimes it's missed. So I can understand getting tested again to make sure it's missed, but...
Yeah, but I think the thing is that once we got the final diagnosis for my oldest one, which was before university, that, unfortunately, is when she got the ADHD diagnosis. So both girls went all the way through school without the diagnosis. And then it was interesting because my older daughter was saying that when they both went to special schools for the dyslexia, both girls, but more my older one now, because we're chatting about this a lot, was that her instructors and teachers and stuff all knew that she was ADHD and gave her ADHD accommodations, but assumed that she wasn't taking any drugs or doing any therapy for it because I didn't want to. And I guess they were respecting that boundary. But the problem with kids with ADHD, not so much with dyslexia, because it really shows up really like pretty prominently. But the problem with ADHD is that we're a whole household. My husband is undiagnosed. What does it call it? Like undiagnosed, but pretty sure? Yeah. So we're all undiagnosed. So all of our peculiar behaviors weren't peculiar to us in the house. So I didn't see the ADHD in my girls also because the environment is set up to stimulate them in the way that they want to. Right? Like they want to be. So there isn't 20,000 people in the house, right? So lots of kids who have ADHD get really stimulated in crowded spaces, right? Or lots of noise or lots of people. And my girls weren't in that environment at home. So they didn't act out at home. And so sometimes we talk about this when we see kids in class really suffering and really challenged and they really look like there's some spiciness going on there. We are hesitant to say anything to the parents because we don't want to be like, nosy Nancy. But at the same time, it could be a possibility that the parent doesn't see it. And maybe their teachers have told them, but most often my experience is that the teachers at school would not diagnose, would not give any feedback because they don't offer any help at the public school with those diagnoses, or very little, unless it's like autism, ADHD, you get very little accommodation in school. And certainly when my girls were going, like none for dyslexia. Like they weren't going to help them at all. The psychologist said that their dyslexia was so severe that in a regular public school system, they probably would never learn to read and write. So, but my schools wouldn't test them. They weren't giving them anything special at school, except for punishing them for not being able to read and write. So lots of punishment. So that's the thing. If you've got a kid, we got kids here and they're going to public school and they come in here and they're kind of bouncing off the walls and we can kind of get that feeling, that they could use some help. Parents may not be getting the information. And so maybe we could be helpful in that way. Because the thing is with it, and I don't know, everybody's route is different. These kids, like you and I, really suffer because they so want to participate. And they so want to sew. And they want to accomplish the project. But after school, and they might be a bit hungry or they've had a busy day and they've come in and now they're about to do the thing that they really want to do. They're super excited about it. and then they just get too jazzed
Yeah.
to sit down and do it.
Yeah.
And they're seeing their friends that are they're co-conspirators, right? Like they're meeting kids that are lots of times very similar to them.
Yeah.
But even if they're not so similar in that way, but they're similar that they all like to sew and they all like to craft and they all like to do things similarly, that they're meeting sometimes like their new best friends.
Yeah.
And so pinning and sewing and doing that thing is really tricky. And sometimes we'll see like really good is that the kid who has that gets behind in class because they're not sewing in class. Then mom will say, yeah, they can do a makeup class. So they come in and meet with us one-on-one.
Yeah.
And we see a lovely, focused, talented, articulate kid.
Yeah.
Because there's not 5 other kids in the room.
Yeah.
It's just us. And it's middle of the day oftentimes, or just like not in that situation. And then they like sew like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And they have so much pride. And it's like, not that one-on-one is the answer, but
No.
the kids can really use some
Sometimes it's good
help.
to, even because they come and do makeup classes and other classes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time when I have a kid coming from one class and going to another for a makeup class, they get a lot more done in their makeup class because they don't know anyone.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
sometimes when you're the spicy individual in the room, it takes you a while to warm up and make friends. So when you're not warmed up and you haven't made any friends yet, all you have to depend on is your project.
Yeah.
And, the instructor. So then we can kind of hone in and it gets us back on track.
Yeah, definitely gets us back on track. But yeah, sometimes you just look at that kid and you just like, man, oh man. And the best one, this is our favorite one, is that you be like, we know the kids for like a long time, right?
Yeah.
So we got pretty good relationship with them. They come once a week for an hour and a half, so we're seeing them. But like lots of kids, minimum stay is like 3 years. So like for a whole year, for 3 years. And then some kids stay up to like 8 years. So we get to know them really well. So you get a good rapport going. And so you can really tuck into a question and go like, do you take any because we're talking about something, you're like, do you take any medication or do you take any pills? I can't even know.
Pose it that way.
No.
Most of the time I'm like, oh, I'm ADHD or I'm autistic. And then the rest of the class kind of gets curious about that. I think it's a bad idea to be like, we're asking the kids if they're
I can't remember how I worded it, but it was something along those lines. And it was probably the same thing in reference to me or my kids.
It's best to start with yourself.
And then the kid will go,
Yeah,
no,
your kids,
the kid will go, no, not me, but my brother, totally.
My brother? Classic answer.
Yeah, is always my brother does. And then you're like, okay, because brother is classic ADHD, disruptive, bouncing around or whatever, and you're more classic girl, which is chatty and what do you call it? Daydreaming. We see that. Like we see a little bit of bouncing.
I got daydreaming
but
a lot.
Daydreaming, you
a
come
kid.
in and the kid is just like in outer space, looking at the ceiling, like doing
Sewing
nothing.
at the same time.
Or sometimes sewing, but sometimes just like da 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 da. Boy, do I know that.
Yeah.
Right? And even like transit. So we do a couple of things in the studio that really help, but are also can be challenging in that we teach at a big open table where we teach and the kids stand. There are stools, but they mostly stand. And that's where we do the pinning and the putting together and sort of the instructional part. And then they move to a sewing machine and sit down at the sewing machine. Now, originally, the reason we did this, it's sort of twofold and it works really well, is that they need to move around. And mostly my thought was not so much because of neurodivergency at the time, but just like they've been sitting in a desk all day, right? And so to come and say, sit down, seemed crummy. Yeah. So stand up at the table, move around, wiggle about, chit chat, and then go sit down at the sewing machine, do your sewing bit, and then come back. It's turned out to be like a really great way to sew because if you've got your daydreamers or your whatever, the amount of destruction that they can do at the sewing machine while they're daydreaming or not paying attention is brutal.
Yeah.
Right? Like randomly picking the table, the paint off the table or the tabletop wood. Or scratching the sewing machine or randomly winding bobbins or running the sewing machine without any fabric. Like they go nuts.
Yeah, there's a lot to fiddle with on the sewing machine.
Yeah, and they open the front compartment and they take all the feet out and then they do all this stuff. But anyway, so it's best to keep them away from the expensive machinery, only there to sew and then come away and then be with us. So that really, we've done that to help them get up and sit down and get up and sit down, to move around, to try and keep them balancing. But one of the tricky parts about that is like sometimes people, myself included, have hard times transitioning. And so even in that environment, going from standing around the table and chatting and whatever to then have to move to the sewing machine, be in your own head and then follow the instruction and do that thing solo, right? And then, or if you're one that likes that solo thing, you find kids staying at the machine and not coming back up to the table because they're just not ready for that energy all those are, right? And so sometimes you'll come in and you'll see like the stallers, right? Where they finish sewing their thing and they're just like zoning out, sitting in front of their sewing machine, and you're like, hello, let's go, right? And so we're trying to keep them moving a little bit, but I know the look that they're having troubles moving back and forth between sort of like the two disciplines of what we're doing.
I always, when they sit at their sewing machine, that always comes off to me like they're somewhere on the spectrum because they're waiting, because I gave them the instruction to pin this thing and then go sew it. And then after that instruction ends, they just sit at the sewing machine. They're waiting for more instruction. So sometimes when I'm having those, when I had that kid, I have to have the conversation quite a few times typically, that it's like, hey, once you're done finishing the thing that you're doing, you can come back to the table and then I'll give you a new thing. So maybe it is the transition that they're finding a bit hard, but I always just assumed it was the lack of social, the you don't know what you're supposed to do next, so you just sit there and wait for someone to tell you to do what to do next.
And we've had I've had a little learning curve over the time teaching and looked into what I can't even remember what they were, but like active learners or visual learners or kinesthetic learners. And I looked at that a little bit, because what I found was I would give a whole thing of verbal instructions, and then I would get 50% of the kids paying no attention. So I'm like, okay, verbal instruction's not good. And then I would give verbal and written instruction, drawings and stuff. And that was a little bit better. I get a little bit more engagement. And then I go, okay, go off to your sewing machine. And I'd have one or two stragglers, and they'd be like, what are we supposed to do? And I'm like, I just showed you and I just told you. And so, but sometimes, I term that as a kinesthetic learner, right? They have to be doing the thing to do it. But I also think it's just the way, and it might be, but it's also just the way how much instruction you can absorb and how much you can take. So when we started, we do a couple of things. We never have the instructions on the wall written before they come in. And that was for my kids because they were dyslexic. And so reading instructions right off the hop would make them think, if they couldn't read it, that everybody else read it and they didn't, right? So we don't put it up first, but we do write on the board sometimes, but we're writing on the board and saying the words at the same time, so that those people that need the verbiage to connect to the words, and often a bit of a drawing. So we're doing a bit of a drawing, we're doing ait of words, and we're doing some instructions that coordinates. And that just makes everybody feel better. But also only three instructions at a time. Do this, then do this, and then we're going to do this. And if you flub it, you have to just go with one. Because you can't go do 1, 2, 3. Do 3 first and then 2. They're gone. So you got to go 1, 2, 3, what you're going to do. And I think what Sam is saying is true, is that if you go, we're going to pin it, then you're going to sew it, then you're going to come back to me as the third instruction, that's turning out to be better than A, B, and C. Because it's trying to follow those instructions. And certainly for me, with mine, is that I have a lag time of understanding. So lots of times this, if I'm taking a class right now and the teacher will say something and I'm right off going, can you say that again? I need it twice
I get
through
it from the kids sometimes.
Or something. I need going through. And then almost when she starts saying it, I'm going, oh, yeah. I probably don't need to say, can you say it again?
No.
But I need a minute for the translation or the information to come in. I think because I move words into pictures.
Interesting. I know it's called like an auditory processing delay. And yeah, it's pretty common in the kids that we see here, but I also get it. And sometimes when because you'll be working on a sewing project and you'll come and ask me for my input or feedback or something like that. So sometimes when we're standing in the studio having a conversation, it's like you saying a bunch of things to me and then me with my RBF standing there just kind of looking at you for a while, and you're like saying more things, and then I'm like, oh yeah, and then I say some things, and then you look back at me with your blank face, and we both stare at each other for quite some time trying to process these things. But I think you're right, because when you're bringing me a pattern or a piece of clothing to dissect or put together, you're saying the things to me, and I'm like, okay, these are a bunch of words. Let me visualize all these words that you're saying to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to think about the problem that's being presented or something like that. And then you have to go from processing everything that's said into problem solving, into then verbalizing your mental problem solving.
Yeah, if we could just be like telepathic and you could just see the images in my head and then I could see your images, we would be way better off, because having to go back and forth into language is really tricky.
Yeah. Sometimes by the time I get home, because we spend all day, I don't know if you have this too, we spend all day describing things to people, but also when you're the instructor or the teacher, everyone's looking upon you to be the leading light. So socially, you're the leading light. Learning wise, sewing wise, you're the leading light. You spend all of that energy presenting. I liken it to like acting all day, and then I come home and I'm just like in my sweatpants, not talking to anyone, just because there's so much of that. You're describing things. You're trying to make sure everyone's comfortable. By the time I get home, I'm like, I cannot talk to anyone. I'm going to go hide in my room, and I'm going to knit, and I'm going to watch TV. Do you do things? No, you stay here.
Yeah, but one of the things that happens with that is like, like we would go on vacations with other families with kids, or we would go do some social event, or we would go to Girl Guides or something. And I was never leading any kid activity. Like, if you met me outside of here, unless I told you, you would not know, like, oh, you teach kids, both like painting and drawing initially and art, but crafting and then sewing. Like, when I'm here, I'm on, but not sharing it outside. Like, I don't want to go to some kid's party and like, oh, and we're going to craft or we're going to do something. Or so nobody knows. And I don't like, I'm not like, let's get the kids together and do this. I'm like, I'm over here having a glass of wine and reading my book. And not that I don't love it, but it's just, I'm so controlling that I like to do my thing in my space.
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone else to be the leader but me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like randomly do something. Like, I'm not good, like, let's make something out of paper cups, I'm like, I need a bit of a plan. I need an attack mode. I need an agenda. I have to like have my space. And it's probably like in the same way as like, but like I've been fired from every job that I've ever had, and I've had a couple of my own businesses, and that's because I need to be the boss. Yeah. I have to lead the way, and I was not a good employee. I was always, because also with the ADHD, I was always like, my thing was like always, how do you do something better? How do you do it faster? How do you like innovate? Like, how do I like create this? Not do this and do this and do this and just do it again or whatever. I was always like, this is stupid, let's fix it or whatever. And then other people, they don't like that idea. Okay, so what else do we want to talk about? Our neuro spicy kids.
Yeah, you kind of hit on it, but I really am never sure how to talk to the parents about it, because sometimes they let us know, and that's always great, because when they let us know, they're on it at that point. They're like, you do this, this, and this, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine, we see it all the time, even if we don't know. So sometimes when I have the idea that your kid is somewhere out there, like me. I just, I implement the things that I know work for someone who has that kind of brain. And that's probably what, they do at home with their kids, is because they're the same way. You go home with your kids and you implement the things that work for you, and that's what I experienced as a child as well. Though none of my parents are diagnosed, so if they're watching this.
But it's like really true. Like the thing I always like, my funny, which my girls are mad about, but like my funny is like, I thought that everybody wet their pants as a kid or as an adult. And what? I didn't know until later that is not a thing. Well, because like I don't remember to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Right? So I would, when I was younger, get caught having to take a pee and not being able to, and then therefore wetting my pants or panicking or freaking out. And I think mine was like having to use a stranger's bathroom or having to use a weird bathroom or the gas station or whatever. Like that was just all tied up in a lot of horror for me. And I was also a super sensitive kid. So like smelly bathrooms in other people's places. And I was super shy. So I don't like, so now over the last 50 years, I've learned never to drink anything ever.
Is that why you don't drink
Because then I don't have to get caught having to go to the bathroom, because I will not remember to go until I'm going to wet my pants.
Oh, that's something for your therapist, I think.
Yeah, we're working on some of these things. And my husband but a guy is different, right? Like peeing behind a bush, like guys can go anywhere. And so he does it all the time because he forgets, but guys have that easy. And then I had 2 little girls who went through not terrible, but challenges in that same way.
Yeah.
And so, wetting their pants or almost or tragedy. And so I didn't know that was a thing. It's because we forget to regulate or we realize we have to go. And then we're like, just a minute.
Well, I put it off.
Yeah. So we put it off and then it's too late. Then you got like someone standing in the way, or you can't get to where you're going, or your belt buckle doesn't undo. And then there you go. But I didn't realize that was, something that we did as a family, that if I hadn't, that might have been a trigger for maybe we have ADHD or maybe we're sort of special. But because we all did it, I was just like, well, that's what every family does, right? Every family wets their pants.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my favorite one is I'm coming up to the house. I gotta go. And it was slushy, snowy outside. And I parked the car. And there's like a boulevard where there was grass. And it was all muddy with melted snow. And so it was muddy and wet, melted snow. And I had to get to the sidewalk. So my idea was the curb didn't have any snow. So I was going to walk along the curb. And then when I got to the pathway from the curb to the sidewalk, I would walk across and go up. And so I do 3 steps and hit some ice and do a full flip and land on my back in my fabulous Movida outfit, smack dab in the snow / dirt completely. And then, of course, wet my pants as I go down. So I'm lying outside the front of my house, like fully wiped out with piss all over me, all covered in like snow and slush and dirt and whatever. And I was like, oh, God. And then I have to get up and go into the house and like, I wet my pants. I'm all dirty and covered in snow, yeah. And that's not that long ago. That was while I was here. So there you go. Fun.
I gotta make sure you go to the washroom
before
you leave.
You
leave for a long time sometimes too. You're like at the fabric store and the print shop, and then you're dropping this thing off, and you're meeting someone for a meeting.
Yeah.
Gotta make sure you go to the washroom. I hate asking when I'm at someone's house. I hate asking to go to the washroom because I don't know why. It's like standing up in front of the class or raising your hand. It's like I'm drawing attention to myself. And then people have to, think about me going pee or something like that. And it's never a bother to anyone. But the funny thing is here, or even when I'm at home, I announce to everyone that I'm going to the washroom. And
like I'm your mom or something. You got to tell me you're going.
Well, sometimes you're getting me caught in conversations. So that's
it. Is that my office?
I'm like, Laurie, I have to pee.
Yes, it's because my office is between the work area and the bathroom, so you have to pass by, and then
it's all designed.
And I have to remember to catch you on the going away rather than coming towards me. Yes, that's true. It's true. But if I waited, then I would forget what I wanted to ask you.
Oh, it's all trouble.
Yeah, it's terrible trouble. So we have designed the studio in teaching to be sensitive to neurospices and to kids with dyslexia and learning differences. What else? We really like it a lot when the parents share that that's something that their kid has in whatever capacity, because it really is helpful and we're sensitive to it. We have talked a fair amount about doing some videos about it, or even putting it up on the website to say that we're pretty open to that.
Yeah.
But it's more challenging when you don't quite know what you're up against, right? If the kid's coming in and they're struggling, it would be nice to have an idea so that we can have some help on strategizing on how to get them to do the thing better. Right. And it might be, hey, if they come on Tuesday, there's only 4 kids in that class.
Yeah.
And that might be a better class. Or the class that they're in has 2 or 3 really flamboyant kids in it. And even though the class is not really big, that might be distracting. Could we try that? But we don't really have the opportunity to share that if we're not being honest back and forth about what's going on. And we feel a little bit, we sometimes say it in that way. We sometimes say, that's a really crazy class, or maybe you want to try this or something, but we don't, we get not a lot of parents are coming in and saying. And sometimes, and I'm just going to say this, sometimes the kids have lots of troubles and the parents know, not troubles, that's a word, but lots of diversity, lots of behavioral things, and they don't say anything, they drop them off for the class, and they're just there, have a go at it. And it is so unfair to the kid and so unfair to us, because there we are doing something and you've got someone in the class who just wants to run over their finger with the needle to see what it feels like.
Yeah. And I think we're always set up to accommodate it, because there's always an extra
person
hand around. But we can always bring in more. So if we know beforehand, we'll just make sure we got backups on stock. And then we work with it all the time. So even if it was just, hey, they have trouble in classes, then we would be prepared to do that. I think it's the worst when we have workshops, the 3-hour classes, where you see them once and then it's done. Because in that amount of time, it's a completely time sensitive, structured class. We start off first 15 minutes. It's time bracketed between then. So we have things in place to help us stay on track and catch the road bumps, because they're bound to happen. But if we were to know beforehand, it would go a lot smoother, and we'd probably be a little bit stressed by the end of the day.
We have a student that comes in for camps and workshops quite often.
Yeah.
And now it's fine. But who's a crier. So every time she would get frustrated, she would burst into tears.
Yeah.
And that is really distracting for a teacher, because initially we don't know what that's about, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to
damage the kid.
We've damaged them, or they're hurt, or somebody's been mean to them or something. So you're spending some time trying to sort through what the tears are about. And then, of course, we know her now that if she gets frustrated, then she comes to tears really fast. And so we know ways to get it so that she's not frustrated, time things like you've got a lot of time to do this, take your time, so she's not hurrying, so there's less there's just ways, and she's way better now. But also when the tears come, we know at least she's not hurt, nobody's bullied her, she hasn't done something terrible, she's having an emotional response to that, and then we can just go with that, right? But when you're going down the checklist, did you stick yourself with a pin? Did somebody poke you? And you're going through the whole list, and the parent could say she's just a little bit, she can be a bit emotional and a bit sensitive, and then we know that when those tears come, or whatever the thing is, because there's lots of different things, when those tears come, that's sort of like her response. And we can go with that.
Yeah.
But so sometimes that can be challenging. I was going to say the other thing too is that we start at the age of 8.
Yeah.
And so that is sometimes where we get lots of these different kinds of kids. And this is true for my kids and for me, is that if you're dyslexic, which gives you some troubles with left and right and stuff, or if you're a little neurospicy, you might have troubles following long play. or you're not, or you're really shy, soccer can be really troublesome.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because the coach is going, go left, go left, go left. And you have no idea.
I did soccer.
Right?
Picking the daisies out in the field. My
Yeah.
parents will tell you.
And then you're supposed to steal the ball from someone else, but you're so shy and or sweet.
Yeah.
That you're not aggressive enough to take the ball.
Yeah.
Right? Or flip side is that your parents have been working on your aggression because you sometimes can get frustrated and get aggressive.
Yeah.
And so they're always trying to work a little bit, maybe they have as your kid, to tell you not to be aggressive. And then you get on the ball field and now you're like,
you're supposed to be.
You're supposed to be, and it's confusing.
Yeah.
My girls, Jackie dropped out of soccer once it stopped being skill-based, both of them, right? They loved all the skills and everything but the play. And then Allie moved into being the goalie.
Yeah.
Because then she didn't have to like confront anyone. She just had to stop the ball.
Yeah.
But that was really,
enough
but all those plays, like you're going to do this and you're going to pass to that and you're going to go left. And then of course they change the field, right? You have to go one direction for half the game and then the other direction and then you score on your own self. It's not good. It's not good. And some of those other things that are like that, where you're finding like following things, sometimes dance, right? Yeah. Where the instructor's giving you more and more length of tasks to do.
Yeah.
And that can be tricky.
Yeah. And
staying in line, right? Or being quiet or still, right? And only, doing some of those things that are disciplined. And so they drop out, right? They don't stick with them. They don't get on the top team or whatever. And so then they're coming to us because they're like, well, we're not doing soccer anymore and we're not doing competitive dance anymore and we're not doing this. And so that's like, what else? And so they go like, well, let's try sewing. And then the kids come in and they go, oh.
I think sewing can be, and I certainly experienced it when my grandma was teaching me, is that it can be incredibly structured, like so oppressively structured.
Your grandmother taught you to sew.
Yeah, but she was a quilter, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it was, don't sew over your pins and don't do this and don't do that and you must have it like this and it's got to be perfectly straight. Whereas when the patterns are designed here, when we're instructing it, if it's a little bit off, a little bit to the right, it's okay. We fix it when it's really crazy. And then there's that opportunity for the conversation about it doesn't have to be perfect, but when something goes wrong, here's the problem solving. And there's lots of places in life and in school where the kids don't see that it's structured. You have to do this, you have to do that, you can't do this, and then if you do mess up, it's all over. You get an F. So if you're not good at dance and you don't stay in line, or if you're not good at soccer and you can't pay attention to the ball, hockey, then you're out.
Yeah.
You can't do it. So I think...
Yeah, and it's my kids were always concerned that it always turns into being competitive. So they took dance, and then you take some dance, and now you got to be in dance competitions. And then they were in gymnastics, and you do gymnastics. Now there's gymnastic contests, right? And then you play soccer, and they did the little kid thing where there was lots of skills and sort of games. It's like, now we're going to play other teams, and now your team is relying on you to be something. And so they just weren't motivated by competition. They were motivated by the thing, right? So they just never had that killer instinct. And they also didn't like other people relying on them to make the grade. Like, you screwed up. You screwed up, and that's why we didn't win, right? Yeah. And you don't ever want to be that kid that screwed up, right? So you didn't win, and they didn't like that pressure. So the nice thing about sewing is that it's your thing, so you're doing it. It's really collaborative. So sometimes we even get in here like, you're copying me or whatever. And I'm like, no, that's the best. Yeah. Like, copy each other, watch each other.
The whole industry of fashion
is copying each other, right? Or working together. You hold this pin, I'll do this. You wait this turn, I'll do that. Yours looks this way. Yeah. I want to do mine this way. So there's like comparative, and then how are we different? And how... and a bit more of a collaboration, right? Yeah. Not whose thing is going to be the best at the end. And in those sense, when people, and that's sort of with me, it's like when I was younger, I didn't want to wear what the kids were wearing because I didn't think I looked as good in it as them or how it was supposed to be. So then I wore something different. And so that's kind of fun in class, is that you're never comparing 8 white t-shirts to each other,
Yeah.
right? Everybody's got a different color and a different shape and a different size and a different styling. And so then it becomes about just about what they want and not about these things that sometimes a comparative thing that they're doing. And it's always, no matter what, you always get better.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's just no way around it.
When you can't do it at the beginning, I see some of the kids who just, as long as you want to do it, you could be so off the map at sewing, and then with a lot of patience and time and learning those skills, you can get on it and do it well enough and continue to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think sometimes, and this goes back to kind of the conversation we had last time about the school home ec classes, is that in those classes, when you're sewing, you are making your PJ pants and your pillowcase, and then you're calling it a day. So everyone's making the same thing. So that can be kind of understimulating and uninteresting. So then people kind of have this idea about sewing that it is understimulating and uninteresting, and there's not much to go from there. Like that is what it is, and then you're calling it a day. Whereas when we're trying to develop different projects to do here, there's always something to change or something to do different, and there's this new project coming down the line. So even when you don't like the PJ pants, then you like the hoodie, and when you don't like the dress, there's a pair of cargo pants down the road.
Yeah. And I think that we work, like for me, when I did take some sewing classes in high school, which was very, very few, because I got kicked out of the class for being disruptive.
Ironic.
Yes, so ironic. Was that it was very slow paced. And sewing, it has to be like, it's better if it's at a little bit more at your own pace. Meaning like some things I'm slow at and some things I'm fast at. And I didn't like that waiting when I was good at something, right? It's like, oh, pin your pants. So I'm really good at pinning. So I pin. Now I got to wait 45 minutes for every other Tom, Dick, and Harry in the class to pin. And then we go to do something and I might be a little bit slower at it. And then they're waiting for me or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was just like a lot of push-pull, waiting, boredom, like, whoa. And so I think here we're paced enough that they're engaged enough. Like we can keep the pace fast enough. And that if you're better sewer, you're better at something, you can add a little bit more, do a little bit more, or pace a little bit more, and not have to sit around and wait for the whole group to do something. So that allows that little bit of individual. What I really want is I want those ones that are speedy to either help the ones that are slower, like give them some assist, that would be super good, or slow down and do a better job. Right? My problem is the speedy ones that still do like really crooked. And I'm just like, you're super fast. It's super great. How about we just slow it down a tiny bit and we'll work on some like finesse, some straight. But I also know that you could never have gotten me to do that either.
Yeah, the kids are a little bit, sometimes when you got that ADHD going on, you're a little bit of a daredevil. And I make the joke in the adult intro to sew that I sew for the thrill of it. And I think that's what the kids are doing. They're like, their heart's pounding. They're going 300 miles per hour on the sewing machine. They're just jamming it through. They're trying to get it done.
Yeah. But also, like for me, there's certain parts of the process that are really exciting. So coming up with the idea is exciting. Making the patterns exciting. Cutting it out. I love all the creative thoughts. Like sewing it together is really exciting. Now, if it doesn't turn out quite right, and I get like 3/4 of the way through sewing, if I lose my Jimmy Jam, right, I lose it, I should just stand up and put it in the garbage. Because if I'm not finished it and it isn't quite perfect, I will never finish it if I stop. So I go, this isn't quite what I wanted, but you should at least finish it so that you can give it to somebody or you've completed it or whatever, not another thing that's not finished. Or throw it away. Yeah. Do not keep the 12,000 things that you never finished because that's just terrible. Or if I don't finish it in the day that I started it, like I'm a start and finish thing, then sometimes coming back to it, even if it's turning out nice, sometimes coming back to it is really hard. So for me, my sewing projects were always up until now, like have the idea in the morning, go get the fabric, cut it out, sew it, make it, and wear it that night. Mm-hmm. And if any of those steps stop, it might not ever get made. So I can sort of see with the kids that sometimes they lose their thing before it's finished. And so they really want to get on with it. That a bit of a slow pace is a little bit challenging. Like when our projects go for too many weeks.
Yeah, the ones
they're
like,
I'm
taking
over
a very
it.
long time, and you can kind of see that they want it done, they want it done, they want it done, and then they start making more mistakes. And we're getting a lot of requests right now from parents on, I want to buy my kid a sewing machine. And that's kind of something that I think about when I'm talking to the parent, and sometimes talking them down from buying the kid a sewing machine is because I know that kid's me. I know that kid's going to go home. They're going to make 30 pillowcases. They're going to jam up their sewing machine on the 30th one, and then they're going to set it to the side. Whereas sometimes when you're in the structured class, even if you're absolutely over the project, you got to do it. Yeah. You're coming next week, and it's an hour and a half, and we'll figure it out, and eventually it'll get done. But sometimes if they get the sewing machine too early, it's the same with the adults sometimes. You get the sewing machine, you make the easy projects. It's too much for you to move on to the more complicated things because you need a little bit of guidance, and then you just stop. You set it to the side.
Yes.
All the COVID sewing machines that happen.
It's one of the things that I say to parents, and I don't think I'm as clear as I am in my head, but I always say, you should buy this really nice machine.
Yeah.
Because it has excellent resale value.
Yeah.
And if your kid loses their lust for this thing, you'll be able to sell it for what you got. Because if you go buy a $300 machine and they run out of juice, it's garbage. There's no more on it. But if you even if you kept it for a couple of years and hoped that they would get back, you're still going to get a pretty good return on that machine because lots of people get jazzed. Well, it's because the parents buy them the machine, or even adults buy the machine, and they need instruction.
Yeah.
Or they like that environment. Me. Yeah. Totally.
I need a whole space to do my work.
Need a whole space for doing my work.
I don't want it in my bedroom.
I want to go to a class, and the class helps me complete it. If I'm just I'm going to get up and do this fitness thing in the living room every day, and I don't need my yoga instructor in my class, I don't.
Yeah.
But if I set up a class or I'm going to something, even that helps me jog it through the week. If I have my big one is drawing, right? I like to draw, but I never draw for pleasure. Just sit down I'm just going to draw.
Yeah.
Never. But if I take a drawing class,
it's the best.
It's the best.
Yeah.
And I'm doing 4 and 5 and 6 hours worth of homework, and everyone's mad at me, and I'm I've got homework, and it's she said 3 to 5 drawings, but I'm doing 12 drawings, and I'm all inspired. But I need a little bit of
the problem.
Lie about it.
Oh no. I've not known you to lie, but maybe you're just that good.
I'm that good.
Okay, so our power went out. I ran out of storage because I don't delete anything, so that's my problem. We were talking about, you were talking about setting up a drawing class is way more appealing to you than, trying
to do it on my own.
Trying to do it on your own. Sometimes the inspiration of coming to a class can be a lot better over having the tools to do it in your own space because it's less stimulating, less interesting, and sometimes a little bit redundant. You only know the things that you know.
Yeah.
Because you're just one person.
Yeah. So take some sewing lessons and don't buy a sewing machine. Unless you're an adult, then get a sewing machine and do some lessons or whatever.
12-year-olds or 13-year-olds will get it all dialed in, and they come in and they make wonderful things, and they're in here buying fabric and showing us all the stuff. We see tons of kids who can do it, but I'm never recommending an 8-year-old get a sewing machine. It's too young. It's too young. They don't know anything yet. They do great in their classes. They should probably stick with that. And if they know someone who sews, then that can kind of help them, depending on their disposition and who's teaching them and that sort of thing. So I think the overall synopsis here is sewing is great for people with ADHD.
Yeah. All of us spicy.
Yeah. And we really attracted around here. And, what was the other thing?
And really good for ADHD and dyslexia and anything in that way because we are not looking at any students reading a pattern, reading instructions, like from a traditional commercial pattern, even adults and whatever, we're skill-based first, and then we move to those more difficult things, because both Sam and I feel like those commercial patterns with the instructions and the drawings is the most challenging way to sew. So getting some skills behind you first before you attack those things is way better. So I would say, or get someone to help you. But trying to tackle sewing as a beginner right from a commercial pattern is really challenging.
Tricky.
Oh, we're turning.
Okay, we better wrap this.
Yeah, so wrapping up, it's just, super great with Neurodivergent, and we're a lot of us here.
Yeah.
And
let us know if you got something going on, because we can always accommodate.
Yeah. And if you're a parent, we would love it if you would share, if you know that your kid has any sort of quirkiness or challenges, because we know and we're happy to work with it, but it is a bit like easier if we know, because we can sort of accommodate. And we want some feedback from you guys out there. If you're watching this, it's like, should we say something? Do you guys, should we, that's, we never know.
I think I've only had that conversation like twice since I've been here in 4 years, because like my mom would have just said F you. Like if you, because sometimes people view it as you're like trying to imply that there's something wrong, and there's not anything wrong, because if there's anything wrong with that, we're so wrong. You know?
I think I wouldn't have. I think I would have been, really, you think so? You think so? Like, I think I would have been more open to it.
Yeah.
And my kids had been told that sort of by others, right?
Yeah.
So if I said, do you think that you're ADHD? Like, has any teacher, anyone else said that to you? They would have said yes. And then it might have, like, sometimes it's that 7 hits, right? For like even, people, you hear it, you sort of see it, it's reinforced. So sometimes that's kind of like, so maybe we should just do a little.
Well, sometimes we have that conversation
with the kid.
Yeah. But I sometimes I'm like, maybe we should have the conversation with the parent.
Yes.
So maybe.
There you go. And what else? Is that it? Don't buy some sewing lessons. Don't buy a really sewing machine.
This is a big ad.
This is a big ad. Come sew if you're spicy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, sewing's great.
Yeah. Sewing's the best.
It fixes everything.
Yeah.